printing was not a pleasure in those days. Printing was very difficult. Now everything is rosy.
Yeah.
Everything is in air conditioning, everything is meticulously manufactured, you have alkali damping, automatic controls. I introduced UV printing in the Indian market way back in 1986. I used to fly to UK to Coats Loria, buy 20 kilos of ink, put it in my bag and bring it back. Because there were no UV inks available in the country. So digital, as I say, digital is growing in India. I would say at a pace of 10%.
Okay.
But this is primarily for short run.
Short run. With the startups and all those companies who have just trying to explore.
As a machine manufacturer, I look at it as a very positive opportunity. But as a printer, I feel that there is a big time struggle ahead.
Before moving ahead, would like to bring your attention on a wonderful new product, a reusable notebook from NARA. It's a 100% tree-free, waterproof and tear-proof notebook which can be used endlessly for years together. I think it's a great step towards a sustainable future and a new step in note-taking. I have been personally using this notebook and have been able to save 6 to 8 pages every day. If you are interested in knowing more about this product, the link for the product is in the description below. Abhayji, welcome to Ink Stories. I am honored to have you on as a guest on our show. I really appreciate that you found time on a very short notice. You just got to know about this yesterday and you agreed after your busy schedule at Pamex to be a part of this show today. Thanks again and welcome to Ink Stories.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And we've gone through your blogs. I hope this will also be...
Yeah, I'm sure the industry would find it very interesting. And let me tell you, when I was introduced to you by Tushar Dhote, so he sent me a line that he's the father of the UV label industry in India. So I think, let's start with that. And why do people call you that? I'm sure there is a lot of substance. People like Tushar would not use that term for anyone just like that. So just give us a hang.
Well, it's very kind of him to have used such words. In the industry, people don't think I'm the father of the industry. Some people actually curse me for, but it's just my experience, my background from where I come from. We were a family-owned business in printing and packaging.
Okay.
And right from mainstream wet glue labels down to pressure sensitive and then super specialty labels. So basically I come from a background where the mind and the mindset is a printer.
Okay.
And a printer knows his problems, he knows his difficulties, he knows his shortcomings, and that drives me to produce machinery which everybody can use, all the printers use all over the world, and then they say, wow, this is something, we were always looking for.
Lovely.
So it's basically hands-on experience.
Yeah. So you are that perfect person who's been on the other side of using those machines. You understood where are the problems that lie and you could probably develop a product which the market needs, is what I'm trying to gather from what you said.
Exactly.
So tell us this transition, why did and what made you, come into manufacturing machines, and where did it start, your background, where were you born and how did this entire thing happen?
I was born in New Delhi.
Okay.
In 1961.
Delhi boy.
Yeah, Delhi boy. And I did my schooling from Xavier's, and then I did a diploma. So since we were in a family business, my father decided to, told me to do a diploma in printing technology.
Okay. He already had a printing business.
We already had a printing business since 1958.
Oh, that old. Oh.
Yeah. And so the journey started from there. After schooling, I did my diploma, and then I came and joined the family business, got into printing. And I was quite, I would say, it was not a pleasure. Printing was not a pleasure in those days. Printing was very difficult.
Why do you say that?
There were no PS plates.
Okay.
We had graining machines with marbles and sand. You re-etch the plates, like redo them. Then we used to have arc lamps to expose the plates. Then there was no alcolor in those days. Okay. Alcohol damping was not conventional damping. So a lot of scum. You needed air-conditioned environments, and it wasn't
a chaos.
It was a chaos. So I come from that
kind of
age. Now everything is rosy.
Yeah.
Everything is in air conditioning. Everything is meticulously manufactured. You have alcolor damping, automatic controls. SIP 3, SIP 4, everything. But in those days, there was nothing.
So you were doing offset, if I'm not wrong, at those times. So offset से आपका transition कैसा रहा? Where did you move?
From offset, we moved to Flexo.
Okay.
That was need driven actually.
Okay.
We used to print metallic substrates. And in those days, there was no UV technology available in India. So I introduced UV printing in the Indian market way back in 1986. That was when 1986-87, we made our first UV system. I used to fly to UK to Coats Loria, buy 20 kilos of ink, put it in my bag and bring it back. Achha. Because there were no UV inks available in the country.
Okay.
So I'm talking about that time.
86.
In 86. That was a difficult time for you. Today UV is the norm.
Yeah.
But in those days, it was absolutely. So I used to fly to UK thrice a week, maybe 2 times a week. And then frequency increased because I sold a few UV systems to some of my other customers.
But how did this thing happen when you are a printer yourself? How did you sell systems? I mean, ये system बेचने का कैसे आ गया?
Yeah, so when I made a UV system for our own consumption, yes. I would say. So the ink suppliers spread the word around that, there is this technology. Do you know about it? And everybody would say, no, that's impossible. How can you dry ink, So they would invite people to our company, and I was technology oriented. Khurafati, and I never hesitated in sharing knowledge and showing people.
You were open about things. Yeah. Okay, nice.
And so after having done that, couple of printers, they said that we also need this kind of an option. So that's how I said, okay, I can help you and I can make it for you. And then since, the mind is like a mechanically oriented, I was always into mechanical things and electrical stuff right from childhood.
Okay.
So it was not a difficult thing for me. And then we started manufacturing UV systems for others. And then it kept growing.
Okay.
Year after year.
And which year are you talking about that you kind of started selling your systems to others?
In 1988, 89.
Acha.
Yeah.
Okay. So then how did it move ahead in terms of?
So I was just telling you, we developed UV systems for ourselves so that ink would dry faster on non-absorbent substrates.
Correct.
And then I went to Drupa in 1990. No, 92 I think. That was 92. 90 or 92, I don't remember. So there we saw this company called Aquaflex.
Okay.
And they were printing with water-based inks. They were printing a Smirnoff vodka label on the show. And they were printing at 100 meters a minute. And that caught my attention. And I said, yeah, this is something that we need.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bought a Flexo press. A lot of people told us discouraged us from going into this technology because there was no plate making available at that time. There was only one company here in Bombay, in Andheri, and the owner was Bankim Mistri Bhai, who used to make these polymer plate making machines. I came to see him. I asked him how easy is it to make polymer plates, and so he told me it was very simple, and he guided me through and through, and so it encouraged us to invest in a Flexo press.
Okay.
After having invested in a Flexo press, the interaction with the owners of Aquaflex was very nice, and they decided to make me their agent for India. And during this tenure of 10 years of their agency, I sold about 12 machines, which was a very big thing in those days because nobody would
Touch a Flexo
press. Everybody would just say, oh, this is something, How do you calculate distortion? How do you calculate repeats? You'll have to make several print cylinders and this and that and keep a library of Anilox rollers. So don't touch it. So that's where
Lovely.
the transition took place. And then that really helped me. And I was one of the early learners
Yeah, I'm
in
sure.
Flexo technology.
I'm sure.
I got a gift from the Aquaflex owner, Mete Gonder. He gave me a book on flexography, which is like a Bible of Flexo.
Acha.
So I started reading it as soon as I took off from Montreal. So throughout the 18
Flight.
hours, I was just reading that book. It was very nice.
Nice.
And now I've made copies of that book and I give it to people free of cost who want it.
Okay.
There's an electronic version
Okay.
and there's also a hard copy if
Okay.
somebody wants. It's a very nice book.
So I'm sure. So currently, as we speak, how is the UV label industry in India? I mean, how is it?
The UV label industry is going very, very strong at the moment.
Okay.
There's a huge demand for labels. Everything that you see today has a label. The varieties are increasing. The consumption is increasing. Our population is increasing. So demand is soaring.
Okay.
There is a huge amount of growth in the label industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of we are seeing these foreign companies who have come into India. They have not been able to do that well. What are the reasons that they find it difficult to survive in a market which is growing at a pretty good pace? You were telling me earlier that it was growing around 25-30%.
Yeah. So, these foreign companies, they are run remotely. And they are run remotely with highly paid executives, CEOs of the company. So their basic, I would say, overheads are quite high.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily deter, profitability or turnovers.
Okay.
But what also goes hand in glove is that these big players want a major chunk of business. And the buyer gives them the opportunity, but at a price.
Okay.
So the buyer requests for a price reduction.
Okay.
And these suppliers, they agree to it. And so that,
So competition creeps in and then you are losing on your margins and you're not profitable.
They are not profitable. You see the profits in all the calculations. When you make a Excel or
A software or whatever you're using.
you use to
True.
compile your profits and all, maybe it will show 30%, 20%.
True.
But nobody calculates that you're wasting so much material also. So if there's a 1,000-meter run and you waste 100 meters setting up the press, your 10% is gone.
Correct.
So these are things people don't want to get into. Okay, let's just get the business and do it. So it's like the sales team needs merit points. So
just sorry to interrupt, but on the same point, if that is the case, do you feel that foreign companies or professionals will not be able to run the business in the same way that a company owner can do the business?
I would not say that. I would not say that. These foreign companies will and can do very good business in India, but they have to mind their overheads. Because the overheads, see, if there is no profit, there is no joy.
Correct.
And
That is the reality of any business.
that's the reality of any business. So if you don't make anything out of it, then what's the point of coming here?
Correct.
You see India as an opportunity. That's why you've arrived here.
Yes.
And you want the most out of it. But circumstances are different. Conditions are different. So it's not easy. It's not easy. And like they say, the grass is greener on the other side, but it's not green.
So, what would be your advice to these companies on how they should be looking at running their operations? I mean, some piece of advice that you think that would be a better way of doing things, probably not to pick orders at a lower price or whatever, or anything.
Look, I would not say not to pick up orders if they are priced low, because today, the buyer doesn't give you the breathing space. The buyer wants to squeeze because the buyer wants to make profit. So it's like, you bargain. Now all these big companies where they have big volumes, they have reverse auctions or they have a tender system. So you have to compete. So you need the business to run the show. But now you have to basically mind your waste. You have to make sure that you have the best equipment, the latest equipment which generates minimal or no waste at all. That can add to profitability. Like we were talking earlier, there could be an order for 1 million labels.
Correct.
So could be 10,000 running meter order, for example.
Right.
But it has 20 SKUs. So your runs are divided now.
Yes, it becomes smaller.
Yeah. So now you're doing like 500 meters per run.
Correct.
And if in 500 meters you're wasting 50 meters to set up, that's a huge loss.
So in this context, what is your view about a digital printing press, a digital label printing press for that matter?
So a digital label printing press is also, I would say, it's a good future. There is plenty of hope and scope for this market. The only deterrent is the high maintenance cost and high consumables cost.
The FASMA charges.
Sorry?
They have the charge which they...
No, there is only one or two companies which have a click charge.
Okay, not everyone has it.
No.
Okay. I thought it was a standard norm.
No. It's with one or two companies.
The sheet fed digital has, so probably the roll fed label.
So the roll fed label also has a click charge.
Okay.
As I said, there are one or two companies.
Yeah.
Which work on the click charge principle, which is good when you are consuming a lot of ink. So that helps. It is good because the maintenance of the entire equipment is managed by these companies. So it's a comprehensive cost. But for labels which don't consume so much ink, it's better to have a non-click version than the one with a click charge. But however, digital is suitable for short run. As soon as you are getting close to the medium run, it becomes uneconomical. The other disadvantage of digital is not so much anymore, but you don't have inline embellishments. You can't do UV inline, so you need separate equipment for that.
Separate setup, yeah.
Now that separate setup, when you run a digitally printed roll on this setup, that will have its own waste. So in the end, if you have no waste, you will have profits.
So if you had to put, your company doesn't sell a digital label printing press, you sell?
We work together with Domino in India.
Okay.
and we do their transport systems and embellishments.
Okay.
So I would say yes, we are into the digital
You are there at
domain.
that part. So how do you see the penetration of digital label printing press vis-a-vis the conventional label printing press?
So digital, as I say, digital is growing in India. I would say at a pace of 10%.
Okay.
But this is primarily for short run.
Short run. With the startups and all those companies who have just
Startup.
trying to experiment the market, or an established brand trying to put a new product.
Right.
Probably it makes sense there
Right.
for those kind
Or
of
maybe
costs.
some special promotions, or Diwali, some,
Correct.
in small companies, they need all these changes
Correct.
and,
Correct. Correct.
so it's, that is where digital would,
And what is the future of Flexo industry? What do you think about the Flexo industry? Is it only about labels, or can there be something beyond labels in the Flexo industry?
no, Flexo is everywhere now. Flexo is in flexible packaging. So
Is
you're
it
printing
is it there in flexible packaging?
100%.
Oh, I thought it was more of gravure.
No. So now Flexo is overtaking Gravure.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nice to know that.
In certain areas, because Gravure cylinder manufacturing takes several days, it's very expensive. A polymer plate can be made overnight, maybe even at 5-6 hours notice if your supplier is nearby. Plus, Flexo generates far less waste than a Gravure press. The
Okay.
footprint is very
But
small.
Flexos are generally narrow web, and I think these days
No.
you have very wide webs
Yeah.
of 1 meter and all.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So there are certain manufacturers who even make presses up to 3 meters wide.
Okay.
Flexo press, 3 meter wide.
Is it? So there are setups in India that
In India, the biggest one I've seen is 2 meters.
okay,
Yeah.
lovely. So you've been in business for, like, if I'm not wrong, close to 40 plus years now. So with the impressive journey like that, what has been the different things that you have seen in the past which you had foreseen कि ये होने वाला है और वो हुआ या वो नहीं हुआ, and how do you see the future? How is the future of this industry going to be in your eyes?
The future of this industry is, growth-wise, I would say is positive. As a machine manufacturer, I look at it as a very positive opportunity. But as a printer, I feel that there is a big time struggle ahead.
Why do you say that?
With more and more people coming in, there will be more competition. And there is, no unity amongst, there's no like association which says that okay, now all printers need a certain amount of margin to play with. There's nothing of that sort. And even if there is, people just bypass because people are hungry to get the business. So the price war is something which is not good for this industry.
Yeah. In fact, it is not good for any industry.
It's not good
You cannot,
for
I
any
mean, when you are putting such expensive machines and costs allocated to, in terms of post press and other activities, in terms of, it's a labor intensive industry. उसके बाद अगर आपके decent margins नहीं बने तो it would be a little difficult for you to be running this in the long run.
Yeah, so sustaining this is a little difficult.
So how do you feel the consolidation? Will there be consolidation in the coming days? Will there be more buyouts? या लोग जो बाहर से आए हैं उनको realize हुआ कि अभी it doesn't make sense? What is your general perception? I'm sure a lot of people speak to you or you get news from the industry.
A lot of people are coming in to India. There are companies which are investing. There are companies which are exiting also. So there's always going to be a buyer and there's always going to be a seller. So as I put it, the market is growing and people are going to come, they will acquire companies because nobody wants to go through the pain to, start up something from scratch. When you buy a healthy company, you also get healthy contracts and healthy
Correct.
customer.
You get a head start.
You get a head start.
Correct.
And then if you can add value to this, it's
And if it's a part of the core business, then it probably makes sense
Makes
for that
sense.
buyout
Yeah.
or that partnership or that
Yes.
investment.
Yeah.
Correct. So, if you were to like encapsulate your journey of the last 40 years, any thing that you would want to highlight, that this were my learnings and this I would want to share with the next generation, that they should be mindful of while they are pursuing their own growth?
Well, my mantra to this industry is that buy the latest technology, because that will give you the head start, or that will give you the growth you need. Don't invest in obsolete equipment. Don't invest in second-hand machinery. Why do people sell machines? Because they feel they are redundant now. They are not profitable, or they are not as good or as accurate as the newer machines.
Correct.
So buy the latest technology. Make sure that when you buy a Flexo press, it generates a minimum amount of waste for startup. And that's it. Technology can really
Give you an edge.
give you an edge.
But I have a counter to this, and this is just like what I've heard from the other podcasts of people who have come here and given their views. That many people just in the race to just invest in technology. Probably they have some money or the borrowed money or whatever it is. They go and invest in technology with no clear idea of executing the plan. So is it right to be investing in all the latest technologies when you really don't need it? How would you address that?
Look, that's like, you buy a luxury car and you don't know what are the functions in it, and you don't utilize anything. For example, if you don't use navigation in a car, so why buy something with navigation? So why buy a high-end product when you are not going to need it? So, of course, you have to apply your mind that you're buying high-quality equipment and you have to utilize it in order to recover your investment and make money out of it.
Correct. You should be mindful of your investment, not just
Absolutely.
because your neighbor is investing into it. You should not
No.
get into it. Does that make business sense?
Yes. And you must, now that I'm involved with flexographic printing machine manufacturing, so I can speak for myself, and my suggestion to the customers is to choose precisely what they want to do and have those features on the machine. And if they anticipate that there is something in the near future which they might need, it can be added later also.
Okay, you have that options.
Everybody has that option.
Okay.
Everybody has. So today someone needs a 6-color press and tomorrow they want to upgrade it to a 8-color press. Most manufacturers can do it. So don't over-invest in something which you will not use.
You're not sure of using in the
You're not sure of
in the
using.
short to medium term.
And buy a press which is expandable, which can have modular units where you can,
Correct.
add
Yeah, I think that's a
flexibility,
very good
add
point.
features. Yeah.
Yeah. One more thing, you are a printer. You have a business with your family which is into printing.
Yeah.
You have a business with family selling printing machines.
Right.
So there is a school of thought that says ki printing machines wale, which I hear a lot on the digital side, because we do some business there, कि digital machines सस्ते हैं, लोग खरीद लेते हैं, and it is a competition to the existing players. So you are wearing both hats of being a printer yourself as well as you're selling machines, and a good one at that. So how do you, I'm sure people who might be asking, sir आप इतने machines बेच रहे हो तो हमारा तो मार्जिन वैसे ही कम होते जा रहा है, तो आप उस पॉइंट को कैसे एड्रेस करेंगे?
मेरे खुद my sons tell me that, Dad, you are creating competition for us. And I tell them that, look, if I don't do it, somebody else will.
Okay.
So competition is something we have to deal with,
Correct.
You have to deal with it.
That doesn't mean that new technology should not come. You have to keep
You
doing
have
those.
to have the latest technology.
Right.
And now if you if somebody takes my advice, you should also invest in digital, because short runs will give you more profits. So digital is something that one must consider, but for shorter runs.
Okay. Makes sense. But then the investment, I think, for digital is, at least some of the machines are a little over the top?
So look, I mean, it's like an automobile. You can buy a cheap car, you can buy a luxury car, you can buy a super luxury car. So digital also, I would say, a 4-color press, digital press, just standard 4 colors can start from about 20-25 lakhs.
Okay.
And if you go for the big brands, you will end up spending 3 to 4 crores. So
It depends where you want to play, how you want to play, what are your pockets, who are your customers, what are your
and
margins.
of course, the cheaper equipment cannot give you the performance and the quality of the high-end equipment. So it's what you pay is what you get. So if you invest in a good company, a good supplier, obviously your quality and your output is going to be better.
Lovely. I think a lot of insights about the industry from you. Is there something that I should have asked you? You think that this is something which is very a part of the industry, and I have not asked you. You want to share something on that front?
I think we've actually covered everything, but I would just like to reiterate that today the name of the game is not producing waste. So
That's where your margins lie.
That's where your margins lie.
When I used to work, my boss used to say, God lies in the details. So the smallest of detail. तो वेस्टेज में आपका प्रॉफिट छुपा हुआ है, प्लीज बी माइंडफुल एंड प्रोबेबली systems like what you sell can help you save those margins. That's the message that you want to give.
And the other thing is that be mindful of all your costs. People don't take into consideration their depreciation costs, their overheads. A lot of things are ignored. So be mindful of that.
Correct. Makes sense. Great. I have last 2 questions for you. I had the good fortune of getting to know you through Tushar. So we have this thing where we ask our guests to suggest names that they feel who could be good guests for us, whose stories can be shared with the industry and our listeners and viewers could be inspired. So any names that come to your mind who could be...
You are referring to the manufacturing industry or the label industry?
Across the printing industry, printing, packaging, paper and the plastic industry.
I would like you to invite Mr. Ashok Chaturvedi of Uflex.
Yeah.
He is, I think, the world's largest packaging company today.
Sure.
Not only India,
yes,
but the world's largest packaging company. And then I would like you to also invite Mr. Sandeep Bajaj, who is the second from Jupiter Laminators.
Okay.
Who is the second largest packaging company in the country.
Lovely. That's nice. Thanks for their names. Yeah. I would try to get to connect with them and see if we can get them. It will be nice to hear their view.
Very busy people.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know Mr. Ashok Chaturvedi. I've been following him on LinkedIn. He's quite active. I read what he writes. He writes quite well. His thought process is very clear. He speaks well for the industry, and I'm sure he can, if we can find some time, it will be nice for our listeners to know about what he thinks.
Definitely.
Thanks for those names. That really counts. And the last one is for us in terms of, you've done this podcast over the last 30 minutes. So how did you find it? What are your initial views? What do you think? And what is your advice for us on how could we do better?
I think you're doing a very good job. I think you have all the relevant questions. You talk to the point, and I would just say if you can increase more interaction between the community and get the community together.
Correct.
That would be something very nice.
When you say community together, what exactly does it mean?
The packaging community, the printers.
Yeah.
So, get them together to be at the same level, to understand costing, pricing.
Correct.
To understand how to address competition.
Okay.
So that is something,
I think over the last 46 episodes, this point has very evidently come out in terms of handling competition. I'm sure competition is there in every industry, but then we have a kind of a giant who's popping his head every time and we need to address that. We would love to see something, some guest who can speak on that topic. Let's see. And thanks for highlighting that. We'll see how we can do that. Appreciate your time, Abhayji. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Shashi. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.